Imagine you collapse on a busy city street. Hundreds of people are walking past. Where would you rather it happen? On a crowded sidewalk, or on a quiet one with a single stranger nearby? You almost certainly chose the crowd. More people, more chances someone helps. It feels obvious. But the real answer is far stranger, and it might be the opposite of what just saved you in your imagination. A crowd can be the most dangerous place in the world to need help. The story that forced scientists to take this seriously is a dark one. In 1964 in New York City, a young woman named Kitty Genovese was attacked and killed outside her apartment late at night. Afterward, a newspaper reported that 38 neighbors had heard or seen the attack and that not one of them had done anything. The country was horrified. How could so many people witness something so terrible and do nothing? Most people reached for the easy answer. The witnesses must have been cruel, cold, broken in some way. But two psychologists were not satisfied with that answer. John Darley and Bib Latany suspected something far more unsettling. What if the witnesses were not unusually cruel at all? What if they were completely ordinary people, and the very presence of all those other witnesses was the thing that froze them? So they did what good scientists do. They built experiments to test it. In one famous study, they put a person in a room to fill out a questionnaire, then quietly pumped harmless smoke under the door. Alone, people reacted quickly. They noticed the smoke, got up, and reported it. But sitting with others who calmly ignored it, most did nothing. They glanced around, watched the others stay calm, and slowly talked themselves out of it, even as the room filled with smoke. The presence of calm strangers overrode the evidence of their own eyes. In another study, people believed they were talking with others over an intercom when one voice seemed to have a seizure, calling out for help. When a person thought they were the only one who could hear it, almost all of them rushed to help fast. But the more other listeners they believed were there, the less likely any single person was to act, and the longer they waited. Add bystanders, and help evaporated. They had found a real, measurable effect? The more people who witness an emergency, the less likely any one of them is to step in. They called it the bystander effect. So why would a crowd make good people freeze? Darley and Latany uncovered two hidden forces working at once. The first is diffusion of responsibility. When you are the only person present, 100% of the responsibility to act sits on you. But when 20 people are present, your share feels like it splits 20 ways. Surely someone else will do it, someone more qualified, someone closer. Each person waits for another to move, and because everyone is waiting, no one moves at all. The responsibility does not vanish. It is spread so thin that no single person feels enough of it to act. The second force is sneakier. They called it pluralistic ignorance. In an unclear situation, you look to other people to judge how serious it is. Is this an emergency or nothing? You glance around to see how everyone else reacts. But here is the trap. Everyone else is doing the same thing, watching you to see if they should worry. You see a calm crowd and conclude it must be nothing. They see a calm you and conclude the same. A whole group of frightened people can talk themselves into doing nothing, each reassured by the false calm of everyone else, a calm that is nothing but a hall of mirrors. Now the twist history added later. The original story of Kitty Genovese, the 38 witnesses who all coldly did nothing, turned out to be exaggerated. The real picture was messier and more human. The number of true witnesses was smaller, some did not understand what was happening, and at least one person did call out and someone did try to help. The famous version was partly a myth. But the strange thing is that the myth led scientists to a truth that was absolutely real. The bystander effect exists, proven again and again, even though the case that inspired it was not quite what people believed. So what do you do with this? Knowing about the bystander effect is itself a kind of protection. Remember why help evaporates. Responsibility gets diffused across a faceless crowd. So the cure is to destroy the crowd. If you are ever the one in trouble, do not scream to the group. Point at one person. You in the blue jacket call an ambulance. The moment you single someone out, you collapse the diffusion. You hand one specific human 100% of the responsibility, and you shatter the spell. And if you are ever the bystander, you can be the one who breaks it for everyone. The first person to act gives everyone else permission to act too. Crowds freeze together, but they also unfreeze the instant one person moves. There is another experiment that is almost too on the nose to believe. Darley, working this time with Daniel Batson, gathered seminary students and asked each to walk to another building to give a short talk. For some, the talk was about the parable of the Good Samaritan, the traveler who stops for a wounded stranger when everyone else passes by. On the way, each student passed a man slumped in a doorway, coughing and clearly in distress. So who stopped? It had almost nothing to do with how religious they were or what they were about to preach. The single biggest factor was whether they were in a hurry. The students told they were running late mostly walked right past, some literally stepping over him on their way to give a sermon about stopping to help. When you are rushed, your attention narrows to your own task, and the person who needs you slides out of view. It was not that they were bad people. The situation captured them exactly as it captures all of us. But here modern science adds hope. For decades, the bystander effect was told as a grim story about human coldness. Then researchers got something the early scientists never had: real footage. A team led by Richard Philpott analyzed hundreds of real public conflicts caught on security cameras around the world. In the great majority of those emergencies, someone did step in. Not always fast, not always enough, but far more often than the old experiments predicted. In a genuinely clear, dangerous emergency, our instinct to help can punch through the freeze. The effect is strongest in the murky moments, the ones where it is unclear whether anything is even wrong. When the danger is obvious, humans are better than the legend feared. This is why so much modern safety training is really training to defeat the bystander effect on purpose. Lifeguards, nurses, and emergency responders are drilled to assign roles out loud, to point at specific people and give them specific jobs. You call for help. You get the kit. A trained voice can shatter the diffusion of responsibility in a frozen crowd. The freeze is the default. Acting is a skill, and like any skill, it can be learned and practiced until it overrides the instinct to wait. You can feel this everywhere once you know it. The group chat where an important question sits unanswered for days because everyone assumes someone else will reply. The problem at work that everyone sees and no one owns. The video of someone in distress, watched by thousands, helped by almost no one. It is the same machinery, the diffusion of responsibility and the hall of mirrors, scaled to the size of the modern world. Online, the crowd is no longer 20 people on a street. It is sometimes millions. The bigger the crowd grows, the thinner each person's slice of responsibility becomes until a problem visible to millions can sit there untouched, exactly like that smoke creeping under the door. So go back to that busy street, your collapse, and the crowd of hundreds. You assumed the crowd was your safety. Now you know the truth. The crowd is not automatically your rescuer. It can be a trap, where everyone waits for everyone and no one moves. But you also know how to break it. One pointed finger. One person who acts first. The difference between a crowd that watches and a crowd that saves is not how many people are in it. It is whether a single one of them remembers that they are not just a bystander.